and welcome to today's American Association for Respiratory Care's Perspectives Podcast. I'm Lisa Weisenberger, AARC Director of Engagement and Media, and I'm here today with Steve Wehrman, virtual pulmonary rehab therapist and AARChampion member for 48 years. Thanks, Steve, for joining us today to talk about your long-standing career and your passion for AARC.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks. I'm still just as excited today as I was in 1977.
That's so great. As we start today, can you give us a little bit of a background on, how you started in this career and why you became a respiratory therapist?
Sure. I like to say I was born to be a respiratory therapist. LA is the most polluted place in the country, but I grew up in Glendale, which is the most polluted place in Los Angeles. I had an unknown lung disease as a child. I was never diagnosed. The doctor said, hang him over the bed and drain his lungs. Well, so then eventually I went to nursing school. I was interested in healthcare. I didn't really like college. I was going to be an English teacher and I dropped out. But I went to nursing school and I really didn't like that either. It was 1975, Hilo, Hawaii. They gave me a finger cot to go down. It's a little condom for your finger to go down and dig out impacted fecal material. And I thought, nursing isn't fun. And then we had this traveler who was an RT in 75. And it just blew me away what RTs were doing. So I quit nursing school and I went to respiratory school. But I was meant to be an RT because I just had a lot of lung problems, and I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I just didn't even know respiratory therapy existed back then. It was just a chance meeting.
Wow, that's super interesting. So throughout your past almost 50 years of being in the RT world, what have been some of your most rewarding career experiences that you've had?
Well, two things really. I love being a respiratory therapist. So I worked at the bedside for 40 years, but I was also a teacher. I was director of clinical education in Tacoma, and I was program director in Honolulu for 25 years. I was a teacher for 35 years. God, I don't know what's better, working with students or working with patients. I really love doing both. But that highlight to me was training those people. So I feel like you're a CPR instructor. I can only do CPR on one person at a time. But I've trained a lot of people. I started in 78 teaching people to do CPR. So all those people are out doing CPR. So it's like I've multiplied my goodness. So the students allowed me to show my way of doing respiratory therapy. And there's 500 of them out there.
What a great impact you've had. So right now you're doing virtual pulmonary rehab. How did you get involved in that? And why do you have a fast growing field right now?
Well, so one of my clinical hobbies was asthma education and pulmonary rehab. I was teaching. So I ran the Better Breathers clubs, and I was always doing some stuff with COPD patients. And then I had a catastrophic cervical spinal cord injury that left me in a wheelchair and hospice. Okay, and I managed to survive, but I was looking for something I could do. And somebody said they wanted to open a pulmonary rehab program at Rehab Hospital of the Pacific. So I went there and helped them start a pulmonary rehab program. And we did that for a while. And then I moved to Washington and I got called up by a company that was looking for respiratory therapists with experience. It's Moreland Healthcare. It's a subsidiary of Kaiser. And they wanted to start virtual pulmonary rehab here in the Northwest. And now I have 6 licenses and I'm working all over the country. And what it is for me is the chance to help people again. Obviously, that's good for me. But I like dealing with challenges. And this is amazingly challenging. I thought it was going to be like all vanilla COPD. I have long COVID, 35-year-olds. I have severe asthma, 40-year-olds. I have COPD with bronchiectasis, pulmonary fibrosis. Stem cell injections can cause huge reactions in the lung. I have patients with every kind of pulmonary hypertension, everything. It is so challenging to help these people, and that's what I love. Because what can you do for people over Zoom when their doctor has said there's nothing that can be done? Then I step in and I work my magic.
So can you give me a patient that you really felt you really made an impact?
I get this guy, and he's been kicked out of the Marines when he was a kid for fighting. Then he got kicked out of center-based pulmonary rehab twice because he coughs up like a buck. He's literally coughing into a wastebasket while I'm talking to him. And so I immediately recognized he had bronchiectasis. Now, this guy's a former meth addict. He's bipolar. He's a retired alcoholic. He's on 6 liters of oxygen, and I'm supposed to help him get better, right? He's in palliative care, too. And he's married, and his wife is like the nicest person. So he had 2 dreams. He wanted to go back to the coast of Oregon where he grew up before he died and spend some time there. And he wanted to get back to his dang AA group. He's in like the most hardcore AA group ever. I get this guy in 4 weeks. I had him at the coast for a week having that vacation where he grew up. 4 more weeks on his birthday, he was running the AA meeting.
That's cool.
Believe that? This has just blew my mind that we could do this. And so I created a whole saying for this. Oxygen is encouragement for the cells. Encouragement is oxygen for the soul. So the combination of good respiratory therapy and encouragement has this really dynamic effect on people. They come to me at the last resort, that everything has failed. Many of them are homebound. And I just start off telling them a joke. I start off every class with a joke. And they laugh, some old dad joke or something, And then I start encouraging them and telling them, you can do this. Look at me. I was in a hospice. I was wheelchair. I was said to go die. Fired my doctors. Got rehab. Been doing rehab every day for 18 years. I try to inspire my patients the way I inspired my students with servant leadership. I know you got, this lady looks at me and she says, well, you wouldn't understand. I have a plate in my neck. And I just looked right at her on Zoom and said, oh, only one? And she goes, what? And after that, we became friends. And the other day, this woman said to me, I was doing her 30-day eval, and she goes, Steve, it happened. And I go, what happened? She goes, I've been practicing the pursed lip breathing so much that now it just kicks in automatically. I don't even have to think about it. And I said, oh, you've gained unconscious competence. Like, you've made it. Even little victories get me excited.
That's so wonderful. So what advice would you give to a fellow respiratory therapist or other healthcare professionals who are interested in furthering their education and skills in pulmonary rehab?
Please help me because I'm drowning in patients. I'm disabled and I'm 70 and I worked 10 hours yesterday. I saw 10 patients. We just got a contract for Colorado Kaiser. We have 100 patients waiting for us. I have 70 people in California, Oregon, and Washington waiting for intake. We need more people to do this. And in the past, people thought, well, this is maybe not going to be permanent, or that's where old RTs go to die, or whatever. But it's not. And I even think a young RT could do this. So what you would want to do is go on to the AARC website and take the Pulmonary Disease Educator course and take the pulmonary rehab. We have a course now with AACVPR and AARC partnering, just like asthma education. You become a certified PR therapist. So that's a really cool thing. And then I belong to the APAC, which is Ambulatory Post-Acute Care section, because that connects me to all the people doing pulmonary rehab in the country. So we talk story, we get advice, we say, how are you doing this? What about the billing codes? Are you using a G code or a J code? Or, we get into all of it and we help each other. We're supporting each other because we're a fairly small community. But this is booming. And it's great because you can work part-time and you can work from home. I'm not even wearing socks right now. So if you like helping people, it can be frustrating doing critical care, which is what I've done all my life. You save somebody, somebody dies. A kid comes in the ER, hit by a bike, hit by a car, you save them. Another kid comes in, they die. It can be really tough. You even save people and then they die out on the floor later. Here you get these people in pulmonary rehab that everybody said is hopeless. They send them to and they go, here, you do something about it. And wow. And you can really make a difference. So I think most RTs are gotten in the game like me to make a difference. And this is a place where you can actually really make a difference. People are grateful. I've had so many patients say thank you to the nurses and the doctors for saving them in the ICU. These people look you in the eye and say, God bless you for helping me. And it's profound.
Awesome. That's that.
But anybody could do this. You don't have to be an old RT. I just was talking to a group of students in Oregon, and I talked to a group of students in Hawaii, and I said, you guys can do this. If this is something you want to do, see, a young RT has an open mind. They don't think they know everything. It's about caring. If you care for people and you like working with not just seniors, but people that really have bad lung disease, you can really make a fantastic difference. So you don't have to be a super experienced RT to do this. You work with what the patient has and what you've got, and you coach them. So it's not like you're going to run off and do a blood gas, or you have to know how to intubate or anything like that. It's a different skill. It's the soft skills, the people skills that make the difference here.
Inspiring for so many people who are going to be listening to this. So I guess kind of changing routes here a little bit, like what has made you stay an AARC member for so long?
Well, first I got to tell you how I became an AARC member. I went to the famous Valley College of Medical and Dental Careers in North Hollywood, which was a storefront 9-month program that no longer exists, right? I never heard of the AARC. I was like a tech student. So one day I heard these other RTs talking about this conference in Vegas. And I said, what's that? And they go, oh, it's our big conference. I'm like, really? Jumped in my pickup truck, drove out to Vegas, went camping at Lake Mead, and went fishing. I thought, I better go to the conference. So I went in there and they made me an offer. They go, if you join today, we'll give you a really cheap deal on the conference. So I joined. And okay, 3 things happened. I saw the exhibit hall. I had no idea there were 1,000 vendors. I had no idea that they even had those pieces of equipment. It blew my mind. Then I heard Dr. Tom Petty talk about oxygen for people with COPD. Wow, I'd never heard a doctor say anything intelligent in my life yet. And then I saw the first sputum bowl. It was 1978. They had glasses that were etched. They were pouring wine. There was 1,000, 2,000 RTs cheering and shouting. Keith Hopper was on the stage, blazing like a comet through the sky, undefeatable. And I just went, oh, wow, that's my hero. I want to be like that. I want this for my life. And on that day, I decided to be a professional respiratory therapist instead of just being a job. I was going to go back to school and get that English degree and at least have a job so I wasn't a starving student. And I saw that. I saw that conference and it just blew my mind. Keith Hopper and I are still friends. I just talked to him. He's still alive, the greatest sputum bowler that ever lived. So it's good to have heroes or people that you admire. And I had not had that in school or in my career. And just seeing professionalism in action. And they were having fun. And remember, I quit nursing school because I wasn't having fun. I wanted a fun job where I got to help people and make a good living. And back then, I made $4 an hour. Oh, man, I was rich. Woohoo! I mean, I bought a water bed and a pickup truck. So the second part of the question is, why did I stay as a member for so long? Because it was the key to everything. One day I went to the conference and Stephen Covey said, a highly successful person sharpens their tools. So I became a teacher by accident and I really wasn't even registered yet. And I thought, I need to go to these conferences and learn how to be a teacher. So I'm going and I'm learning stuff and all that. And then my boss said, you should do some research. So I was trying to figure out how to teach students how to do bag valve mask ventilation. And we had 7 different kinds of masks. So I determined which mask worked best. And my boss helped me do the abstract. And AARC let me come and speak and say, see that thing about the abstracts at the professional meetings where junior researchers can go and present their ideas? That's killer. The ATS, the other people don't do this. So I got there. You won't believe what happened. I got there and they said, oh, you're not talking in education. They go, you're in acute care. I'm like, why? So I get up there and they go, you're going first. And there was all these guys in suits in the back of the room. I gave my talk and it was funny, of course. I had jokes and everything. And I got done and Dean Hess got up. And he goes, that guy just gave my talk. Dean Hess and he was in Pennsylvania, I was in Washington. He was a famous researcher. I was just a dumb beginning teacher. We did exactly the same research. And same day, same time, we changed the world. All because I was an AARC member. And then one day I was at the meeting. And what we do as teachers is we go to the book vendors and we try to get free stuff. Like, I'm thinking of adopting that book. Can I have a free copy? So, and they say, what do you think of Egan? And I said, it sucks. It's written at too high of a level, 30 different authors. I mean, come on, it's terrible. And they said, but don't you use the workbook? I go, no, it's all a bunch of recall questions. There's no pedagogy. There's no application and analysis, no case studies. I'm an item writer for the NBRC. And they said, would you like to go to dinner, Steve? So because I went to the AARC meeting and talked to people and networked, I wrote the Egan workbook for 20 years. I was on the Egan project for 20 years, all because I'm an AARC member and I went in and I talked to people. It gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to make a difference. That's the AARC. It's where I hang my hat. It's where I go to have fun. It's where I make incredible connections that allow me to do stuff I never thought I'd be able to do. So like if you were young like me and you saw Tom Petty and you met Keith Hopper or you heard so Dean Hess, he said to me, "Who are you?" Took me under his wing, and we've been friends ever since. So where else could you meet the legends of a profession and walk up to them and they would sit down and have coffee with you? That doesn't happen in medicine. That doesn't happen in nursing. That's respiratory therapy. AARC is still accessible for me to talk to the greatest people. I don't know. I still get excited about it, And last year was the first year my doctor let me travel again because of my spine. And I went to Orlando to the AARC and they gave me my FAARC. I was crying. I'm crying right now. AARC, man, this is where it's at. And so I could go on about this, but I have something I call the secret sauce of success. And professionalism is one of the secrets. So how did I publish this big best-selling textbook, do research, become a program director, bring in 1,200 members to the AARC, and not graduate from college, not graduate from high school? I was homeless when I was 17. How did I do that? Well, one of the secrets is professionalism. I learned to look like a professional, dress like a professional, and talk like a professional, which is the Disney method, right? Put your costume on, learn your lines, and stay in character when you're in front of the public, when you're on stage. That's how I learned, because I didn't have very good schooling. And I learned from the AARC guys, right? So being a professional, that's a professional respiratory therapist they look like a professional, they're credentialed like a professional, and they hang out with professionals. And so when you hang out with the professionals, then you become a professional. I'll give you an example. I got this student, and I sent him down to the ER for training, right? And I'm up on the fourth floor. This is Queens Medical Center, and I'm working with my other students, and I get a phone call. And the phone call is someone who said, "I was driving down Punchbowl Street, and I saw your student smoking a cigarette outside the ER of Queens Medical Center." The therapist and the nurses went out to smoke, and the student went with them and smoked. Now, nothing happened to that student. I didn't do anything to him. I counseled him. That hospital didn't hire that student because that was unprofessional. So if you're hanging out with the professionals, you get a different result than if you hang out with the guys smoking on the sidewalk in front of the ER, right? That's one of my secret sauces of success. It has nothing to do with the degrees you get or who you know or what school you went to.
Yeah, so very true. So I guess is that part of why you are involved in the specialty sections too for AARC, because you're hanging out with those people who are the professionals?
Exactly. I've never seen myself as the best or anything. I'm always a student. I'm always learning. I've always felt like I needed to learn from the people who got formal educations. And that led to me becoming a state captain with the COPD Foundation. And I would really encourage respiratory therapists to get involved. They're our partners. But Mike Hess, who's the head of our specialty section, is also very involved in the COPD Foundation. So he talks me into this. I got to go to Washington, D.C. to Impact 2025. I got to lobby Congress, and it all came out of AARC and the section. I met senators. I met Dr. Crapo and Senator Crapo. Dr. Crapo invented the normals for pulmonary function testing. I met Republicans and Democrats who all were in favor of helping people with lung disease and giving back the oxygen and all that. So it was an incredible experience. And I hung out with the respiratory therapists at that meeting. They were all like me, enthusiastic professionals who got connected into this other thing through the AARC.
Great. So what would you tell a young RT about the importance of being involved in the AARC and about just being an active member?
Well, like I said, it's one of the secrets of success, right? So you get involved in those people. I got a job in Washington once. I moved there, and the guy, he wasn't impressed by me. I had hair down to my waist. I was young. He goes, "Well, I'll hire you as a therapist because you're an AARC member." That guy was Rick Radford. I think his registry number is 600. This is the man who invented the inline suction catheter that we use in every hospital in the world now. It was only at one hospital in Tacoma back then. Well, so Being a member connected me to Rick Radford, a mentor, and he only mentored people who were active members who were really interested in the profession. He wouldn't waste his time mentoring somebody who wasn't professional. So when you see that person, it might be me. Some people want me to mentor them. We don't do that. It doesn't work that way. You don't say, will you be my mentor? It's, I pick you to mentor you because you stand out. And it's, you stand out for two things: your enthusiasm for your job and your passion for your profession. And when a mentor sees that, he took me, so first he goes, I'm not impressed with you. He wouldn't hire me as a manager, gave me a therapist job because I was a member. So I set out to prove to him what I was. He helped me do my first research. He made me director of clinical education. We helped take the inline suction catheter to other hospitals, and now it's everywhere in the world, right? So if you want to meet the best people, if you want to be somebody, like, do you want to excel? Do you want to make more money? Do you want to get promotions better? I mean, I don't know why you're doing respiratory therapy, but probably you want to get a lot out of it besides just helping people. Well, that happens when you work with the best people. And the best people are just always professionals, and they're always AARC members. That's where you're going to go get that, right? That's where you're going to drink the Kool-Aid that makes you able to do more. And so these mentors, Dean Hess, if you went to an AARC meeting and walked up to Dean Hess and said, I want to be a researcher, he'd say, let's get coffee and talk, right? Rick Radford, he taught me everything. He taught me how to be a professional manager. He taught me how to be a teacher, how to be a researcher. That never would have happened if I wasn't an AARC member. And I met another guy early on in my career in a cafeteria at Brotman Memorial Hospital. His name was Julius Autry. He was one of the first respiratory educators in Southern California. I think his registry number was like 50. He said, what do you want to do, Steve? And I said, I want to do this, and I'm going to go back to college, and I'm going to get a degree in English, and I'm going to be a high school English teacher. He said, why don't you become a respiratory teacher? And I said, because I don't know how to do that. So he took a napkin and wrote down the plan of how to become a respiratory educator. So I did that. And then one day, we were sitting in a department meeting, and Rick Radford said, hey, they said we have to have directors of clinical at colleges now. We have to have 2 teachers. Anybody interested in being a teacher? And I raised my hand. And I got the job. But I got the job because of something Louis Pasteur said. He said, chance favors the prepared mind. So for those 5 years before that, I had been following the plan on the napkin. I preceptored students. I taught residents. I gave in-services to the nurses. I taught CPR. So I was building my resume of teaching, right? And so when the opportunity came, chance favored the prepared mind. I was an AARC member. I had a reputation as a stand-up therapist. And I had practiced teaching. I had a little bit of teaching stuff on my resume, and they said, okay, we're going to give you a chance, right? So that's how I became an educator for 35 years and got to do what I really wanted to do, which was change the world through changing the students. And I thought about something else I wanted to tell you about the AARC. So see, I believe that as a profession, we're trying to build the road to the future, to the 21st century. And the new graduates are trying to build their road, right? So to build a road, you need an architect. The AARC is the architect. You need an engineering firm. We've got the best engineering firm in the world. Branson, Hess, Calais, and J. Brady Scott. We've got these engineers. Well, you also need a general contractor. We have one in every state. The RCSW, the HSRC. So the state affiliate is the general contractor, and contractors need skilled workers to build roads. A lot of them, right? That's the respiratory therapist. That's my contribution. And what I'm trying to do is create those skilled workers who would go build that road to the future. So that's what we're doing here. So whether you're a new graduate building your road to the future, we build it brick by brick, step by step. If you want to build the road to the future for a whole profession, you get involved with the AARC because that's what we're doing, right? And we are just moving forward. And so we've got the architects, the engineers, and the contractors. What we need are the skilled workers. And I want to remind everyone, critical care, neopeds, we need those kind of workers, right? Just like a road needs guys who, I don't know, do the asphalt and stuff, but we also need the electricians who put up the lights and the guys who put up the signs and we need the drainage. We need all the respiratory therapists to build the road to the future. So whether you do home care or whether you do critical care, you're just as valuable and just as important in what we're doing. So I would invite anyone to come join me and build the road to the future, right?
That was a great analogy. I love that. Like, I hadn't really thought of it in that manner before. So, I mean, it's totally fitting and is fantastic. Do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do. One of the big problems in respiratory therapy is burnout. And so it starts with vigilance. We have a highly vigilant job. I'm giving lectures about this right now, about how to prevent that. So the constant vigilance, you went home after a 12-hour shift in the ICU and you could not sleep, right? You shifted your nervous system into fight or flight, vigilance, and then eventually the pathway goes down through burnout, caregiver fatigue, second victim, and PTSD. And you can vaccinate yourself against that. And being involved in professional societies is one way to do that. I go to the meeting and I'm with my ohana. I'm not with people that are judging me. I'm with my family, right? And that's really powerful. And I think that we as respiratory therapists need to take an active role in taking care of ourselves. So how did I do this for 70 years in spite of, I had a lot of bad, I only talked about good stuff. I had not gotten jobs. People tried to fire me. I mean, I had all kinds. I got to Hawaii and the dean said, I never would have hired you, but this program will close in 1 year and you'll be gone. I got up, took off my coat, sat back down, rolled up my sleeves and said, we better get to work then. That's now one of the 10 best programs in the country. But how did I get through all the bad things and all the people I saw die, all the patients I took off ventilators? It's because I vaccinated myself against burnout and stress. And whether you do it through exercise or breath work, the powerful breath work I'm teaching my patients that moves you from flight or flight back to rest and digest, that balances the nervous system and the hemispheres. Respiratory therapists need to do that. Volunteer work, I ran asthma camps for fun on the weekend. Because, see, that puts a deposit back in my bank account that watching people die takes out. So if you want to be in it for the long game, you got to be a professional. Or you'll just feel lost. You won't feel like you're part of the team. You won't feel like you're building something better. You'll just be working. But if you want to be in this business for the long run, for 50 years, you got to vaccinate yourself against burnout and all the bad things that happen because, well, as I like to say, we're in the resuscitation business, not the resurrection business. And that means when people die, it's a different story. So I had the privilege in the early days when we first were allowed to take people off ventilators. I was also an EEG tech. So I've taken over 80 people off the ventilator. They died. How did I protect my soul from that? That'll suck the soul right out of you. You know what I did? I held their hands and talked to them while they died. I did the EEG, I took them off the ventilator, and then I sat there and talked to them and prayed for them and held their hands. See, if you're not doing stuff, you're going to burn out. If you stay in critical care long enough, it'll suck the soul right out of your body. Not me, though, because I vaccinated myself against burnout by doing good work, by making a difference, by having an ohana that I could always go to, and by being a good person, being an ethical person. And of course, finally, my sense of humor. So my last thought for everyone would be, I take my work very, very seriously. Sometimes people think I'm a bit of a clown. I take my work really, really seriously, but I take myself lightly. Take your work seriously, take yourself lightly, forgive yourself, have a family, sharpen your tools, and go out and have fun, right? That's what makes a professional respiratory therapist. And really, I don't know, it's kind of stupid and weird, right? That I think the AARC is fun. That's where I have fun.
I think that's great.
I was rolling through Orlando in my electric wheelchair because I can't walk very well. I'm rolling along, singing Working on a Dream by Bruce Springsteen. And do you think people thought I was crazy? People were saying, hey, dude, you're still doing it, right? Good to see you again. And that damn Dean Hess, he came up to me and he said, Steve, I still remember the time you played Sputum Bowl by yourself. I'm like, yeah, who would do something that dumb, right? It's because I was having fun. And by the way, I've played Sputum Bowl 9 times. I have 11 awards. 4 of them are sportsmanship awards. So in the beginning you said, what's the most rewarding thing? Having Dr. Helmholtz Actually, Dr. Helmholtz, who's like 90 years old, he handed me the sportsmanship trophy in 1986, and he said to me, I like your style, don't change. So the way I was brought up, and this is the way I approach respiratory therapy and sputable and everything is, it's not about winning and losing, it's how you play the game.
100%.
So
Totally.
that's how I look at respiratory therapy. It's a game. I want to have fun. It's not about winning. It's about how you play the game. And I'm still having fun. I'm flying out tomorrow to Spokane. I'm going to talk to a keynote address on respiratory therapists about how to breathe, because respiratory therapists don't know how to breathe. I'm going to teach them real breathing, box breathing, hinge breathing, breathing that can prevent dementia, breathing that can fix you. Okay. And then I'm going to talk to 150 students. I'm going to give my new talk, my final talk. It's called Running Towards Death. Could I close by sharing that poem with you that I wrote? I wanted to come up with respiratory therapy in a poem. Okay. The night is old. The lights are low. I stand my watch through hours slow. When all along the healing halls I hear the bell, the clarion call, I give the breath of life to all. Every age from birth to death, a baby born without a breath, a child crying for its mama, a young man suffering from trauma. The legions of the old, short of breath and always cold, the good, the crazies and the bad, the broken people always sad. Gun and knife and club and fire, saving lives is my desire. I give the breath, I run towards death.
Wow, that's great. Thanks so much for sharing that and just your whole story. It's been so wonderful talking with you. And we just really at AARC, we appreciate your time and energy and efforts in promoting respiratory therapy, and all the career pathways and roads that you're helping to build, for all the respiratory therapists and especially for the AARC. So we really appreciate you. And just thank you a lot for joining us today.
Thank you, Lisa. You know, obviously, if it wasn't for the AARC, I'd just be a guy sitting in a house somewhere disabled. Because of you, I get to tell my story. Thank you.
So great. This has been AARC's Perspectives Podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.